So South African-based coach Simon Marange, he was unveiled as the new Young Warriors coach. And if you're like me and a lot of Zimbabweans, a lot of people were impressed with the CV when the announcement came out. He's done work with the Orlando Pirates under-17 side. I think he's currently working with the reserve side, and he joins us this morning because we were just want to unpack, who Simon is and what he can bring to our under 20 boys as we build up to this invitational tournament. So, Simon, good morning. I know you've got training in a few minutes, but thank you for making time to come and have a quick chat with us. First of all, congratulations on getting the under 20 job for the national team. Maybe just talk us through that, what that was like, getting the call to say, hey, man, we're entrusting you with taking care of basically what is the future of Zimbabwean football.
Good morning, Tich, and good morning to all your viewers and listeners, and thanks for having me. Thanks for the congratulations. Look, it had been something that had been spoken about for a while, and obviously took a bit longer than we had anticipated because there wasn't too many competitions. And the excitement was building over time, and I was just hoping and fingers were crossed that it would actually go across the line. So when I did get the call, it was obviously a positive surprise, and I was really, really glad to get the job.
All right, and obviously we know you're currently coaching at Orlando Pirates. I think I remember reading the announcement and your CV. Maybe if you can just give us, in your own words, your history coaching with Orlando Pirates, starting with your current role and some of the things that you've done at Pirates.
So I am currently working with Orlando Pirates Reserves, which is our under 23, and it's our bridging phase, professional development phase, which is the players that are closest to the first team and have a direct link into getting into the first team. So that's what I'm currently busy with. We play in the South African third division, which is called the ABC Mutsepe, and it's very competitive, but we play with young players, mostly under 21, 22, to try and get them to the next level of professional football. Before that, I was working with the under 21s that play in the official reserve league for the PSL. I'm sure maybe you've watched it a bit. It's called the DDC now. I've worked there for 2 years with some really good players as well, the likes of Pochimelo Radiopane, Lau Foster, some really good players. And before that, I worked as the under-17 coach, 2018 to 2021, if I'm not mistaken, where we played in a Future Champs tournament where we played the likes of Atletico Madrid, Osasuna, Club Brugge, and we became the first African team to win the tournament in 15 years.
I mean, just hearing you roll off your CV, quite impressive. But like I say this to you before we came on air, you look relatively young. But how does someone end up as a junior coach who's doing so much, especially at one of the biggest clubs in South Africa, and then obviously getting one of the biggest jobs in the land when it comes to junior football in Zimbabwe? Maybe walk us through your journey to landing that post in South Africa.
Thanks for the compliment and the age. But I lived in America for a while where I studied, and I'd already started coaching then, and it was something that I was slightly interested in, but I didn't really do it because I was still playing. So when I moved to South Africa, I played for a bit and I couldn't continue playing for medical reasons. So I went back to school, and while I was studying, I started coaching at a local club that was called Randburg Football Club, and they're quite a big amateur club. And from there, I worked with peewees, 6-year-olds, 8-year-olds for a couple of months before a guy called Kevin Moody gave me a chance to become technical director at the club. And at the club, we designed a program called Benchmark Football, which made us into the biggest amateur club in the country, being able to bridge players from amateur football to professional football. Through that, Orlando Pirates were interested, and then they came to the club and they merged with the club for youth players. And through that, then I merged into the club because they were supposed to be happy with the work that I did. That's when I started with the under-17s there.
Now you mentioned going to the States. I understand you also had your own career as a player. Maybe just regale us with that.
I studied at Prince Edward School, and I played there for...
So you're a Tiger, huh?
I'm a Tiger, yes. I'm a Tiger. So I played there obviously for 6 years, and I got a full scholarship to go study in America at University of Delaware, where I did political science, international relations. I played what is called Professional Development League with the Philadelphia Union, which was really good, and spent some time there. Then we had some overseas tours, which was good, and I got some time to spend on trial there. Spent 18 months playing there, then moved back to South Africa. It wasn't much playing as well.
All right, and then now obviously moving on to the current position that you've been given right now. We haven't seen our under-20 boys in action. You've already given us details of what it was like getting that call, but obviously you had your first training session with the boys yesterday. But just in the build-up to that, because you said it has been a long time coming, how much did you know of the players that you eventually called up? And obviously from your assessment of what you guys went through yesterday, what can you tell us about where we stand in terms of our under-20 boys? I saw a lot of players from attached to some of the local clubs involved in there as well.
So I do follow local football, obviously from a distance, and with some of the ZIFA regulations where you have to register at least 5 under-20 players, it always made it a little bit easier for me to follow some of the players that actually get playing minutes. So I have seen some of them playing. For example, I've seen Washington play. I've seen some of them play in the Premier League, which makes it a lot easier. And then yesterday we had a double session. We had 2 sessions, and the level has been good. It's definitely a good level that you can work with. There's a good foundation. Obviously, we still have to look at other players around the country, and it's just one camp in a few days. So we'd like to look at a lot more players, but as of now, there is a good level to work from.
All right, you did highlight that, there hasn't been a lot of action, and it's been a long waiting game in terms of you getting some competitive action for the under-20 boys. So maybe just riding on to that, how important is this tournament that you guys will be taking part in Malawi, where I think it's Malawi, Zambia, and Kenya, as well as us, Zimbabwe, in terms of you hitting the ground running?
I think the tournament is very, very important from a foundation perspective. I think the objectives for us will obviously be to start to develop a clear identity, a clear football culture and football language. So when we go to this tournament, we will always step on the pitch to win, because we've got a lot of pride and we're representing a big country, so we must win football matches. But I think the key thing in this tournament, and one of the really important objectives, is to create a really strong foundation in terms, like I said, football language, football culture, playing identity, and just making the players understand what it actually means to play for the country, because they have not played. All these players have not had the chance to represent the country. So what does it mean to play for the country? How do you bring in all the different philosophies from the different clubs and make the team even better?
Obviously, I'll pick up where you left off, philosophy. Yes. I think, when people are talking about the great sides, whether it's at club level, at international level, I think you can think about the Dutch, you can think about the great Barcelona side. Philosophy has become, embedded in terms of how we look and view football. Do you have a football philosophy that you want to inculcate within these young boys, and how does that tap into maybe the wider philosophy that the mother body, ZIFA, has? I know Hunizarira is the new technical director. Have you had conversations with them? Have you been given a mandate in terms of saying, this is what we want you to work towards, and how that aligns with your own ideas from your experience in America and South Africa, and now coming back home?
So I do have my own personal philosophies on how the game should be played, or how I would like the game to be played. Look, I like to look at football from a different perspective, where it's not about tactics and using people to win games. I think it's a game of people coming together, finding a shared tactic to win the game. So I'm very big on bringing people together, on cultures, on understanding each other, because I think that's the basis of everything. In terms of playing, I like a lot of dynamism. I like a lot of adaptations. When we look at the teams that we've worked with at Pirates, there's a lot of different adaptations in different situations, in different moments. Teams that are very clever, and teams that are very, big word, eclectic, that can change and be dynamic in different situations. So that is something that I would be looking to bring into the side. But from a ZIFA perspective, there has to be a national philosophy. I'm sure we're all aware that we haven't had football at a national team level for a while now. So that's why I use the word create, because I think this gives us a platform to all come together and create that identity that's not been there. Because if it's there, I'm not sure what it is. So I've said to the TD, we've spoken, we've said, what is the mandate? Obviously, it's work in progress. We're trying to create it. But one of the objectives, if at the end of this tournament, we should have an identity of how we're trying to play, who we're trying to be, and what does the young Zimbabwean footballer look like in different roles and functionalities. So
after the 4 nations in Malawi, what are some of the immediate maybe tournaments that we're looking to qualify for, or the immediate project that you guys are saying, all right, we're building towards this as we try and work our way back into the international football family?
So there is the COSAFA tournament coming up. I think obviously we get to go to that by being in the SADC, and we're glad to be back in that. And that gives us a platform to qualify for AFCON. I think going to the AFCON will really give us a good platform that will get players interested in playing in the national team again, everybody excited to be in the junior national teams again, and we can showcase this philosophy, this identity and culture that we're talking about. And obviously it gives us a really good base to go from. So that would be the target, to get to AFCON. I think we can really push towards that, and obviously prepare for COSAFA and be competitive so that we can get to the tournament.
Simon, thank you very much for making time to sit down with us this morning. All the best. I know you've got to dash off to training with the boys. We don't want to be blamed for anything that goes wrong, and all the best in Malawi. And I'm sure as you continue working with the team, or continue engaging you and finding out how that's going. But maybe just before I let you go, maybe what's happening with Orlando Pirates? This is a substantive role that you have with the Warriors. How's that going to work with your duties as a reserve team coach at Orlando Pirates?
So at the moment, it is an ad hoc basis. So I will still be with the club. I'll still work at the club. But on FIFA breaks, just as normal as players go on to their national camps, I will be leaving and coming into camps. I do plan on spending a bit more time here. Obviously, there's off-season coming up. I will definitely be in the country. I want to watch as much football as possible. I'm in schools as well because they've got under 20 players, not just at the PSL level. And obviously we have to do a lot of research and create a database of players. So that is mainly the work that I'll be doing over the next couple of months.
All right, thank you very much. That is Simon Marange, the Zimbabwe under-20 football team coach. His first assignment in charge is the Invitational Four Nations tournament in Malawi. The team leaves on a Sunday. That tournament features Zimbabwe, Malawi, Kenya, and Zambia. And wishing him and the boys all the best.
Konapo, ipapo pa ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294, the place to be.